Welcome to the Friendly Frequencies podcast. I am your host, Carmen McLeod. I am traveling the world as an artist and tour guide, and along the way I am documenting my journey of personal development, self-reflection, and spiritual growth. Through my stories, I hope to inspire you to create the life of your dreams and remind you how powerful you truly are in this world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of transcendent transformation. Welcome to the Friendly Frequencies podcast once again. I'm really excited because I have a solo episode for you right now, and I've been just so excited to film this for you because, and for me, just for me as well, because I've, as some of you know, had plenty of guests on here lately. The last basically 4 or 5 episodes have been all interviews with other people, and it's been such a blessing to have so many powerful people on the podcast, and I do plan to continue that and shift it in that direction as well, because I know how powerful it is to have other people's perspectives on the podcast, and not just always be talking about me and my experiences, because there's only so much that that you can learn from me and that I can learn from myself. Like it's all about getting all the different perspectives on life and different experiences, so it's lovely. And it's time for me to talk now. I'm ready. I've had a lot to tell you, and I've just been so excited to share these breakthroughs with you. So I'm going to start with this episode is huge. It's probably the biggest breakthrough I've had in my life to this day. And I've had plenty, especially over the last year of breakthroughs. But this one is very special because it has been a story that I have held on to my entire life. And I'm just going to say our lives, this is something that I've learned over the last year as well. Our lives are basically a compilation of stories that we are telling ourselves. So the story I've been telling myself, the stories that we all tell ourselves on a daily basis, we don't realize that they're actually just stories, and that doesn't mean they're not true or that they are true, but our reality is shaped around these stories. And I think once you can identify that this is a story, then you can realize that it doesn't have to dictate your reality. It doesn't have to control your life. And a story that has controlled my life, or not controlled my life, but it's been a major factor in my life and in my relationships and my experience in the world and my experience of myself. I think that's the most profound, is that it's been the experience of myself. And I just decided, and this was about a month ago, I just decided that that's not my story anymore. And I just decided I'm done with it. It was just a decision on the moment, in the moment, that this is not my story, and that this is essentially the first day of the rest of my life when it comes to this area of things. So it's huge. And as soon as I made this declaration, everything shifted. So I'm going to tell you the story about what happened around this. Basically, let me tell you the intention of the episode first, okay? And I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but my intention is to help you see how you can change the script of your life so much more easily than you think, and you can remove the story that's holding you back from true happiness and abundance. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you the old story. This used to be my story. The story used to be for me that, and when I say the story, it's not my life story. It's just a story, one of the many stories that make up my life and my experience in the world. One of them was that I don't get along well with women. I don't know how to be myself around them. I don't know how to talk to them often. And I mostly attract men in my life in forms of friendships, relationships, everything. And that used to be the story. And it's actually something I've talked about on the podcast before. And I can't remember what the episode was really about in that sense, but I have talked about this before. And so often when I had found really amazing women and women who I really connected with. It was very special for me, and I've always really cherished those friendships because there wasn't very many of them. But that's not the story anymore. The new story is that I am in touch with my divine feminine. I attract female relationships. I attract female friendships. All forms of relationships that there are on their way to me. They're already here. And I fucking love women. That's the new story. So it's so exciting to say this. It's so amazing to say this because I've never been able to say this before. I truly mean it. I truly mean it. So here's the story around how I got to this breakthrough. It all started with, I realized it started with two people. So two people had a really profound impact on me. So the first one is a dear friend of mine, and I'm going to go ahead and get real personal right off the bat because I'm an open book and I just don't care. We were having sex for a few days, okay, and one of the times we were able to play around with the different like energetic type things, and because I've been really discovering a lot about my sexuality, I'm going to talk a lot about this in a podcast soon because it's very, very also profound. It's probably the other biggest breakthrough I've had. But with this person, and yeah, he's a man, he and I were kind of, playing around with that, and it was amazing, and it was transcendent, and I just remember thinking like how grateful I was for that experience, and then it kind of planted a seed of like, okay, this was really powerful with a man. Imagine how powerful it would have been, or how powerful it would be with a woman. Like, I don't wish that it was with a woman, of course. I'm 100% happy with who it was with and everything like this. And now going forward, I want to experience something like that again, but I want to experience it with a woman. Now, most of you may already know I am bisexual. I've literally always been throughout my life, but most of the partners I've had are men. And yes, I have hooked up with women before, but never in like this, like energetic kind of way. Never in, it was more just in like a fun sense, not really like, with people who I'm friends with, but not really in a real deep, like romantic or just spiritual way like that. So it had me thinking about how powerful that would be, just because women are just so powerful. And I've always known this, like women are really, really powerful. And we're, I'd say, more spiritual beings than men. That might be a controversial thing to say, but I believe it, because women are just, the divine feminine is something that I've had a lot of experience with, even though I haven't had that many women in my life. I have been to a lot of women's retreats, like spiritual women's retreats. I call them hippie retreats, but and I've experienced the divine feminine in many ways, and it is so powerful. And it's something that, men can tap into 100%, and then they do. But just overall, like, women create the life, and like, there's just so many aspects that I could go around this. We don't need to get too much into it, but really, I think that women naturally are more connected to this spiritual realm, just by being in that divine feminine and just being those beings. So anyways, I just think that that would just be a really powerful experience. So it had me thinking for a bit about that. And then, okay, fast forward a few weeks, I had Kelsey Pulley on my podcast. She this was a few weeks ago now, and she's just such a powerful woman. And I highly recommend listening to her episode if you haven't already. But after talking with her, and I have been friends for about, 5 months or so. And every time I talk to her, I'm just like vibrating with divine feminine energy and just like love. And she's so powerful. So after talking with her and having that interview with her, I was just laying in bed and I was just like thinking about it. And I was so filled with love and joy and everything. And then I think it is in that moment that I had this shift in my mind where I just decided I want more women like this in my life. And I have a few really powerful women in my life. Well, I have quite a few, but, when you think of friends and family, but, like, when it comes to friends, like, I have, a few of them who've made me feel this way. And I want more. I want to attract more women like this, not just as friendships, but as relationships. I want to explore that side of things. I want to date more women. I want to, all of the types of relationships you can have. I want more of those with women that are like this, like, or just in, and they don't even have to be they don't even have to be a spiritual woman, but just women who make me feel like the way that, that just make me feel so filled up and just feel this sense of love. So I decided in that moment that I'm cutting the story out. This is not the story of me not being able to attract these kind of women into my life and not being able to talk to most women. That's not my story anymore. I'm ready to accept women into my life. I'm ready to be that divine feminine woman, and I'm ready to attract exactly that as well. So, and that's what I did. So I just declared it in that moment because I know how powerful it is to declare something. And I know how powerful I am, how powerful my mind is. And when I make a declaration to the world, like, and this is one that I can totally control. This is all up to me. So I knew in that moment that it was going to work, and that's exactly what happened. So, and I'm really thankful because this was in the time that I was up north of the Philippines between this last tour that I had and the tour before that. So I had like 3 weeks off, and I spent 1 week with friends and making friends and all of this. And then I had a week or two-ish to be on my own and just like really be with myself. And so I had lots of time to reflect and meditate, and I love that. And so I think that really helped me come to such clarity around this, because this was at that time. And so now, fast forward a few days from that declaration, of course, I was still alone after that. Like, I had spent the next 3-4 days alone. And so, and I wasn't meeting anybody. I wasn't in areas that had many, like, people. Like, so I wasn't, like, seeking anything out, right? So then, as the end of that time off came, I decided just randomly, I want to go back to LU, which is a place that's is like a surfing beach surf town that I was in at the very beginning of that 3 weeks that I'm talking about. I went there for 1 week and made made some friends, and I wanted to go back and see them again while I was still in that side of town, and see them before I go back to work. So I had only one night to do that, 2 days, 1 night. And so I decided I'm going to make a spontaneous road trip to LU and go see my friends. And and it didn't end up happening because the motorbike that I was going to take there, and this is like quite a long drive, maybe 6 to 8 hour drive. So it was quite a trip, and I didn't have a good enough bike for it. So, and I couldn't find one. They didn't have anything good enough for me. So it wasn't safe. So I decided, okay, well, so I kind of just let it go. I was like, okay, I guess that's not meant to be. And I wasn't super attached to it. I had just made that, spontaneous decision that moment. So in this moment where I literally say to myself, oh, okay, I guess it's not meant to be, boom, I get a message on my phone from this guy who I had only met one time for like an hour in Sagada, where I was staying. But I barely knew this person, but yeah, we had each other's Instagram, and he just messaged me randomly saying, hey, do you want to go to LU? Just go for a trip there for a day. I was like, what? Okay, yes, that's super weird and synchronistic that you're saying this right now, because I wanted to go to LU and I just thought that it wasn't gonna work out for me, but that's really perfect that you're asking. So I just decided, sure, let's do it. So I just went with basically a random guy to LU. And because how could I say no to that? Like, really, like, that was such perfect timing. I knew it was clearly meant to be. And I'm like, okay, well, there's clearly a reason that I should be in LU right now. So I make my way over to where he was, and then we drove there together, and then went for 1 night. And then, when we're there, the first night was honestly not a good night. It was not a good night for me. I was around a lot of toxic masculine energy that night with a few different people, and there was just like a lot of drama going on. And yeah, I don't need to get into any details about it, but like I was just like not having a good time, and it was because of the men that were around me, and just like what they, what was going on with them. And so I was like, damn, okay, it was kind of a shit night, whatever. So the next day, I was only there for one night, so the next day, that guy that I came with, he left in the morning, and after that, I was given the most amazing day ever, because it was just filled with divine feminine energy. And so the next day was like a complete opposite of the day before, because I was surrounded by women. And so one of the main people that I wanted to go see was my friend Amber. I met her there, and she had stayed there the whole time that I was away. She's still there now. She'll probably stay there forever. But I wanted to go see her, and she had, since I had left, she had made friends with this group of women, all these different women from around the world. They were, there's about maybe 6 or 7 of them, I think. And normally that would have scared me. I would have been like, hell no, I don't want to hang out with that many women. I wouldn't have said no to it, but I definitely wouldn't have been excited for it. But because I had just had this breakthrough, I was like, hell yeah, bring on the women. So we go and hang out at the beach with these amazing women. I loved all of them. And I was telling them, like, oh, you guys, I think I manifested you completely into my life, because this is exactly what I was wanting. And I told them a little bit about the breakthrough, the shift that I had just made within myself. So yeah, we're just, hanging out on the beach together, playing in the waves and laughing and just like being silly. And it was just really a good time. And so then later on, I went back to the hostel where I was staying, and they had this meditation. The girls were all talking all day about, oh, there's this meditation that they do on Sundays, like it's really amazing. And so everyone was really excited for it. So I was like, hell yeah. So we joined it, and this was not just a meditation. Oh my goodness. And I had no idea what it was going to be. It was so powerful. So it was 3.5 hours in total this lasted, and it wasn't all meditation. It started off with a meditation, and then it turned and they even warned us, the women warned us before. They're like, okay, this isn't an orgy, like we promise you it's not an orgy. Sometimes people think it is once we start like shifting gears and stuff and the things that we do. It's gonna make you uncomfortable for sure, and that's what it's meant to do. But it's kind of just like it's like an energy circle. That's the only way I can describe it. It was totally like right up my alley, of course. But yeah, it starts with a meditation, and then there's just different exercises of like just being in each other's energy, touching each other, and talking with each other, and expressing like just the love to each other. And everybody will get something out of it in a different way. I think that it's just a very it's all very meditative experience. And so there was about 8 of us in the circle. There were 3 men who I'd known already, who they were like in the town. So this was just so powerful, this experience, and it plays into the story because at one point in this circle, we were doing an exercise of pairing up and holding the hands of the other person and just speaking and looking them right in the eye for a while, and just speaking just pure love into them, and just speaking to the miracles and the love and the everything that you see in that person and what's possible for them. And we all barely knew, like some of them, they said pick somebody you don't know already. And I didn't know most of them, where I had just met a lot of them that day. So I had 2 women, we did this twice. So I did it with one woman. She was around my age, and it was just really, really beautiful. And then I did it with another woman. She was one of the women who were putting this on, and both really powerful women. And to the second woman, I remember saying to her, because I had told both of them kind of what was going on for me in my life at that point, and I just realized that, and I was telling them, this is exactly what I was asking for. This is exactly what I need right now. And to one of the women, I said, I just remember so clearly, I said, this is the first day of the rest of my life. This is confirmation that what I had declared is in alignment with who I am and what I'm doing right now and what I need in life. And so it was just really, really powerful. And, you know, looking back at that 2 days, it was very clear to me that the first day was meant to be as well. It was meant to it also was confirmation for me that men are not so much in alignment with me right now. That I've had plenty of amazing, powerful experiences with men and amazing men in my life, and I do continue to attract them, of course. But, you know, I think that, okay, I've learned a lot from men up to this point. It's time for me to shift and learn from the women and just focus on that. And so these two experiences of being in some toxic masculine energy and then the next day being in this really divine feminine energy were both really beautiful confirmation for me that, yes, this is the right path, the right moment. And it just made me really, really, it's just so exciting because it's such confirmation that everything is going to line up for me the way that it's meant to. Like, what are the odds that guy messages me saying I'm going to LU, or like, let's go to LU, when I thought that it wasn't going to work for me to go? And, you know, I think I would have continued even if I didn't go. I would have had plenty of experiences that confirmed what this breakthrough is for me, but I think I really needed that experience in LU just to really like fire me up and, yeah, and get me really excited about and 100% clear that this is in alignment for me. So yeah, like that's the breakthrough. And now, so since then, I've made plenty of friends with women. I've attracted some amazing women into my life, and I'm so open to it. It's a really perfect timing for me, really, really perfect timing, because there's mostly women in the groups that I tour around the Philippines. So in the groups, like as the tour guide in the groups that I have, it's like, I don't know, 90% women usually, and just a few men. And I remember before I was saying to my friend Gemma, like, man, if only like my ideal group would just be a group of all men. Like that would be the dream. I would have so much fun, like, you know, because that's always where I did feel like the most comfortable. I can be myself. I can have the most fun, and I felt so like safe in that way, and I didn't ever feel that way around a group of women. But now the story is different. Now I love everyone. Like I love both genders. It's funny because I've always loved both genders, but now I feel comfortable around both genders, and I'm really, really open to attracting more women into my life. And so yeah, I've had, you know, some I haven't had any like short-term relationships with women yet, you know, but I can see it's getting in that direction, and I've attracted some women into my life like since then, just being on this time off now, and because I'm now talking about this story. I was talking about this story with a woman that I had met, and it just actually like brought us really close in a way, and it didn't go very far, but like in that sense, but I could just tell that energy was like attracting her more to me, and so it's really amazing. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and this has all happened in the last month or so, between the breakthrough and all the experiences since then and before then. And I'm just so excited for all of the women that I'm going to meet moving forward, and who are on their way to me right now, and just to deepen my relationships with all of them in all these different ways. It's really exciting. So thank you for listening to my breakthrough, my story around the stories. And I would love to ask you, what is the story in your life that is holding you back from true happiness, abundance, success, whatever it is? Now, this can be a story that you've had your whole life, and it can stem from an experience that you've had in the past. It can be a relatively new story that's been created recently. It can be anything. But to identify the story, I think that it'll become easier maybe if you just start thinking. And if you can't think of anything now, it's okay, because I think you can identify it if you're, go on living your life and just keep this in the back of your mind of being aware. Am I living in a story right now, or am I operating based on a story that I'm telling myself? And you can think about it in the form of, what's the self-talk that's happening right now? What limitations am I putting on myself right now that are affecting my experience in this world? So I'll see if I can think of some more examples for you, just so that it's more clear about how to identify a story. I identified lots of stories in my life with when I was in that leadership course, the next level leadership training. One of them was that I'm not smart. That was a limiting story, a limiting belief that I had, was that I'm not smart. And I had this story, and unfortunately it still does affect me to this day. I do believe that I am smart, but this one is one that's I've held on to a long time, and I've had experiences, and it's just around different experiences that I've had growing up where I've been made to feel very dumb or feel very not smart, and it affects me in my daily life. Like when I'm learning a card game, for some reason this happens quite often. When I'm learning a new card game or something with people, I think I go back to that story of, well, I don't learn card games very easily. I find them hard to understand, and so it takes me a lot of times to play it to really understand the rules. And I literally see myself every time having everybody explaining, okay, this is what you should do, and I literally have somebody basically playing my hand for me because I don't know what to do. And I can see it in that moment of maybe I do know what to do, but it's this story that I keep telling myself that I don't know what to do and that I've never been good at card games. And when you say something out loud or in your head, your brain says, okay. This is something my mom has always taught me growing up. She always would tell me this. Be careful what you say, because your brain will say, okay. This is why conscious language is really important. So that's still a story that kind of dictates a lot of things in my life. And it doesn't just show up in card games. It shows up in a lot of ways. It shows up in the tour guiding job when I have really, really big responsibilities for other people's lives. And in the simple ways, I've talked about this on the podcast before, I had a really hard time counting the number of people that were on. Obviously when we leave any place, I have to count, make sure everybody's there, and I would miscount every time. When I had 25 people or something to count, I would completely miscount it, and I would go count them over and over, and I'd get a different number every time, which is really ridiculous, because how hard is it to count? Come on, I know that I can count, but I think that it really was this story that I still have, that I'm not as smart as everybody else. And so so these are the little stories or big stories that can really affect the daily life for you. And so I really hope that you're able to identify whatever stories are holding you back, and once you do, the next step is just to powerfully declare, in this moment, that story is not the story anymore. This is the first day of the rest of my life. And truly mean it, because I truly meant it when I said this to myself. And it worked. And I knew it would. And even if you don't fully believe that it will, or that it might be more complicated in your situation, sure, maybe it is. But I challenge you to truly believe me when I say that you can change the story. It doesn't matter what has happened to you up until this point. What matters now is how you decide to move on from here. Do you want this story to follow you around the rest of your life and dictate how you experience the world? Or do you want to create your own story? Rewrite the script. I challenge you to do that and see how things will shift for you. So thank you for listening, and I'm so happy I got to talk to you one-on-one again, so to speak. And I'm really blessed and really grateful for you, for everybody that's listening and supporting me and loving me. As always, thank you. And yeah, I'm really excited to bring you some more solo episodes and some more beautiful interviews. And I'll talk to you very soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Friendly Frequencies podcast. I would absolutely love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes and also Spotify or wherever you're listening to the podcast through. And what I will do is, for anybody that leaves me a review and sends me a screenshot through Instagram, I will personally send you my 30+ hour playlist. This playlist is very special to me. It has been crafted by me for the last 3 years, and I've never met a person who does not love it. And this is just another way that we can be beautifully connected through creativity. So send me a picture of your review. My Instagram is Friendly Frequencies, and I cannot wait to share this music with you. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening and for supporting me along this journey. I appreciate you. I love you, and have a good one. I'll see you next week.